dry eye refers to dryness or decrease in tear production of the outer part of the eye. So basically, our eye, there's a gland that produces tears, and then the tears would go to the front part of the eye to keep it moisturized. Okay, it's very important that the front part of the eye gets moisturized, because if it's dry, then it will be very, very irritating and will have a lot of discomfort. So if there's a decrease in tear production, then we would develop symptoms of dry eyes. Number one, aging. As we get older, then the tear production becomes less. So almost everyone would get dry at some point in their life, you know. And then the second most common nowadays is because of the advent of technology. Everybody uses gadgets, our computers, our cell phones, our tablets. So prolonged reading actually, prolonged watching of television, all of this actually would also cause dry eyes. Yeah. There are also some diseases that can cause decrease in tear production, okay, and that of course will also give us dry eyes. Whenever we have dry eyes, there are actually lots of symptoms. One would be, sometimes people would just say there's a foreign body sensation. So it's like there's a pricking sensation. They would say there's like a hair, you know, I could feel like there's a hair on the outer part of my eye. Number two, in Filipino, they would say mahapde. Okay, that's another sign of dry eye. Slight redness of the eyes, tearing. Actually is a sign of dry eyes too, because what happens there is that if there's dryness of the outer part of the eye, then the eye would want to protect itself. So what it will do is actually would produce more tears. So tearing can be a sign of dry eyes. So a lot of people are surprised that, you know, I'm tearing, but how come you're telling me I have dry eyes? It's basically what we call reflex tearing for the eye to protect itself. Well, if we have dry eyes, the most common, the number one treatment that we usually would recommend would be to use artificial tears or eye lubricants. Okay, there are actually several brands and several kinds. So there are the more liquid ones and there are the more viscous ones. So it will depend on the severity of the dry eyes. Depending on how it is, then we would prescribe the appropriate artificial tears. Of course, there are also other ways of treating dry eyes. There's a medicine that can increase tear production. Okay? There are also other ways, like what we call a punctal plug. So basically, there's a gland up here that produces tears, and then the tears go to the front part of the eye, and it actually drains out through holes here on the inner corner of the eye. Okay, so it goes to the nose and then it goes to the throat. So that's why whenever we're crying, we're also, you know, have runny nose. Okay, because that's where the tears go. So one of the other ways to prevent the tears from draining out too fast is actually to plug the hole. Okay, and you can just use a very simple, small, like plastic silicone plug that we just put it into the hole. You don't need to stitch it, you don't need to stick it with anything, and leave it just there. And because of that, the tears will not flow down as much, so that will also help with the dryness of the eyes. I guess one of the misconceptions would be some people would think that the dryness of the eyes is coming from the inside of the eye. So there's a fluid inside the eye, but that has nothing to do with dryness of the outer part of the eye. So the outer part of the eye is basically from the tears that's produced outside.